are. Looks like there might be one person on. Folks, I'm here at Dublin Castle. Just going to go in through the gates here. You're looking here at City Hall, built between 1765 and 1775. As I say, we're going to make our way into the gates here of Dublin Castle. I'm just waiting to see if anybody else comes on here. I don't know if there's anybody on. Say hello if anybody's on. So we're here, as I say, at Dublin Castle, which actually was the seat of British government in Ireland for over 700 years. From 1204 right up until 1922. Wendy, how are you? Good to see you. Looks like you're the only one, you're the only person on. So I don't know if you've ever seen this tour before, but we're going to show you around Dublin Castle. I don't know if you were here with me. I think you might have been here with me, weren't you? Anyway, we're going to take a tour around Dublin Castle and around some of the areas and tell you the history of the area. I hope you're doing well, Wendy. Hope everything's good in Western Canada and it's not too cold for you. It's lovely and warm here today. Absolutely amazing day, weather-wise. It's about, I'd say, 12 degrees probably, something like that. Joan, how are you? Good to see you. Welcome. Hope you're doing well. I'll get started. Now, the last time I filmed in here in Dublin Castle doing a tour, one of these security guards come over to me and told me I couldn't do this, which is quite strange because this is a public area that I'm at right now, so there should be no problems at all live streaming. If anybody does that, I'm just going to tell them I'm just walking around taking pictures. That's it. Planning and hoping to visit Dublin this summer. Great, Joan. Look me up if you do. Wendy, who's on here right now, was here last summer, or was it October? Was it Wendy? Wendy was here in October. Big cold, minus 15. Wow, that is cold. Great stuff, Joan. Look me up if you are coming. I'll take you on a tour around Dublin City. So I'm here at the state apartments at Dublin Castle. As I just mentioned at the beginning of the tour, in case you weren't on at the beginning, this was the seat of British government in Ireland for over 700 years. It was established in 1204 by King John of England, and it wasn't until 1922 when Ireland got its independence and the British left here. We'll talk about the handing over ceremonies that took place then. But I want to just show you here the state apartments, these beautiful buildings, right, are this beautiful Georgian type building right here. And they were built around the 1680s to the early 1700s or mid 1700s. There's 64 absolutely beautiful, luxurious rooms inside here that really are gorgeous, with lovely chandeliers and paintings and decorations and the king's seat and the king's seat, the throne, whatever, and absolutely beautiful inside. Really is. It's lovely. Lovely paintings in there as well. But as I said, there's 64 luxurious rooms. The most famous of these rooms is St. Patrick's Hall, and that's where all the state dinners take place. And it also is where all the inaugurations of every Irish president takes place as well. And the Irish president here serves a 7-year term, but if they get re-elected, they could serve 14 years. So the present president of Ireland right now is Michael D. Higgins, and I think he's 13 years this year into his presidency. So he's serving 2 terms. Now, amongst the dignitaries that have come here for state dinners, John F. Kennedy was here just 6 months before his assassination in June of 1963 here for a state dinner. Benjamin Franklin, way back in the, in the 1700s, the late 1700s, was actually here for a state dinner. Queen Victoria was here 5 times. Queen Elizabeth II was here actually in 2011. It was her first time to Ireland. There was a state dinner for her, and she actually spoke in the Irish language whilst here at the beginning of the dinner when she got up to give a talk. Lots of other dignitaries. Princess Grace of Monaco was here in 1959. I mean, the list goes on. Nelson Mandela. It's just Pope Francis. The list goes on. Now, I want to show you this. I'm going to step back here a little bit and show you this lovely building here. And this is the Bedford Tower. You see right here. But, sorry, excuse me. You're on camera. The Bedford Tower. This is beautiful. It dates back, it actually was built between 1757 and 1761, and it's named after John Russell, who was the 4th Duke of Bedford, and he was also the Viceroy of Ireland at the time. Now there's two statues between the Bedford Tower. First one right here is Fortitude, built in 1750. And it's a classic statue of a Roman centurion who has a spear as a symbol of strength and a lion as a symbol of courage. Lots of people here, as you can see. A lot of tourists around. This is Alan. How are you? Good to see you. Hope you're well. Attic girl, great to see you. Shelley, hope you're well. Fantastic. So we are getting some people in here. This is great. I started off with just 0 people, and then we got, I think, 4 right now, which is not too bad. This is the other statue on the other side, on the right-hand side of the Bedford Tower. And this is Lady Justice, built in 1750, with a sword indicating power and a scales to weigh up justice. Now, the Bedford Tower right here was at one time where they housed the crown jewels. And in 1907, the crown jewels were stolen from this building. Now, suspicion, or they looked at very suspiciously at the officer of arms. His name is Arthur Vickers, because he actually had an office in here. And supposedly he was, some say he was a homosexual and had affairs with some prominent British men. And because of this, they never investigated the theft of these jewels. And to this day, the jewels have never been found. Now, I think they might be in California. Alan, they might be, check your basement or your attic, they might be up there. Or Wendy, they might be in Western Canada there as well, in Vancouver. I think they might be there. Check your basement. Or Joan up in New York. And who else we got? Attic girl, where are you from again? Shelley? I forget, Philadelphia, was it? St. Louis? I can't remember. But check and see. Now there's lots and lots of events that have happened here. I have the security guard over here, look. He's going to start looking at me. I think he's following me. Anyway, I'll start looking, says Wendy. Hello from Greece. Aphrodite, how are you? Good to see you. Welcome. Hope you're well. We're looking for the crown jewels. What part of Greece, Aphrodite? Athens? I'd love to find the missing jewels. Is there a reward? There was a reward at the beginning, back in 1907. I don't know how long that reward lasted for. But maybe there still is, I don't know. But they've never been found to this day. Over 100 years later, nearly 120 years later, they have not been found. Now, this has been the scene here at Dublin Castle of many different events. And one of these events happened right here at this gate in 1916. 1916, we had a war. It was a 6-day war. Every war we ever had were against the British. And you had the 1916 Easter Rising. The very first action of the 1916 Easter Rising took place right at this gate when the Irish Citizen Army, so the Irish armies were made up of volunteer armies, and they attacked this gate and attacked and shot a guard on the gate, and that guard became the first casualty of the 1916 Easter Rising. Now, the gunshots alerted the British soldiers that were in the state apartments at the time. They rushed to the gate, so the Irish Citizen Army had to retreat to the City Hall right here, and they made their way to the roof of City Hall. And the leader of that contingent of the Irish Citizen Army was a man by the name of Sean Connolly, and he happened to be shot dead. So he became the second casualty of the 1916 Easter Rising. As regards the 1916 Easter Rising, after 6 days, we waved the white flag and surrendered as we were outnumbered and outgunned. And the leaders of the 1916 Easter Rising were all executed except for one. I know I've said this story many times before. Let's see if anybody knows this story. So one of the leaders of the 1916 Easter Rising was not executed. So 15 men were executed. One of them was not. Any reason why he would not have been executed? I can't even pronounce that, Aphrodite. That's right, Alec Goyle. He was American. He was actually born in America. He was only an infant when his Irish mother took him to Ireland. And his name is Eamon de Valera. He went on to be Taoiseach, Prime Minister of Ireland for 36 years and two-term President of Ireland, so 14 years as President of Ireland, which his inauguration would have took place in this building. He would have been only about 25, 27 years old or whatever at the time, where all his buddies were executed. And say they didn't execute him because he was born in America. The British didn't want to mess with the Americans. He went on to live till he was either 94 or 95 years old. Didn't die till 1974, I think it was, 75. So, Eamon de Valera. Now, another huge event that took place here in the courtyard of the state apartments at Dublin Castle was the handing over ceremony when Ireland got its independence, finally got its independence in 1922. The leader of the country at this time was a man by the name of Michael Collins. He was a real thorn in the side of the British Empire, and it's the reason why, was the reason why we were able to get independence for the 26 counties of Southern Ireland, because he had his own army. He called them the Squad. They were specialised sharpshooters and what have you. They were just brilliant soldiers, and they were knocking off the British authorities, but more, not the British soldiers, but more like the officials, British officials and informers and stuff like that, the hierarchy of the British Army. He did such damage and took out so many people that the British Army couldn't find this guy. He was a master of disguise. Even after putting a reward for him, dead or alive, nobody would inform on him. In fact, he had his own informers. His informers were young ladies that were working in the homes as chambermaids or maids of the British officials in the Georgian areas of Dublin, the nice, beautiful apartments. And they were getting information and bringing it back to Collins. So Collins had intel on all of them, where they lived, what they ate for breakfast, what time they went to bed. And the girls would be earwigging while pouring a cup of tea or a cup of coffee in the morning and find out what their next move was. So they had to. Smart chambermaids, yes indeed, Alco, very smart. Hi Jennifer, how are you? Yeah, so there's nothing they could do. They couldn't defeat this man. He was also a master of disguise. So he'd walk right by or cycle right past the British authorities, the British soldiers and British officials, and give him a wave and everything, but they had no clue that it was Michael Collins. They didn't even know what he looked like until the treaty was signed, when they asked him to come over and sign the treaty where they were giving Ireland their independence. Now, just 26 counties were on the cards. We were not going to be given the 6 counties of Northern Ireland. The reason why was because Britain had so many settlers there, especially the Scotch-Irish as it became known, that they were not going to give up that 6 counties. Now, when he signed this treaty, he knew he was signing his own debt warrant, because when he came back, the country was divided, and half the people were in favour of this treaty, where we get independence for Southern Ireland, the 26 counties, and then the other half of the country was devastated because they wanted the whole 32 counties. So a civil war broke out, and unfortunately for poor old Michael Collins, he was killed in this civil war at the age of 31 years old. Now, as I was saying, this handing over ceremony took place right here in 1922. Collins was coming here to get the keys from the last of the viceroys or Lord Lieutenants. So Dublin Castle, the representative of the King or Queen, whoever's in power at the time, was a viceroy or a Lord Lieutenant. The last of these viceroys are Lord Lieutenants. Yes, that's right, Joan, Liam Neeson, and Michael Collins, the movie. Some of it was filmed right here in Dublin Castle and in Trinity College and loads of different areas around the country, especially here in Dublin. And so, what was I saying? So the handing over ceremony took place right here. So there would have been a huge crowd here. Everybody would have been excited throughout the streets of Dublin, and because, you know, now all the wars that we had against Britain, which there was many, we were defeated in every single one of them, and finally these men that died in these wars, these Irishmen that died in these wars, now it wasn't all in vain, including the 1916 Easter Rising leaders and all the people, the soldiers that died in that war. It wasn't in vain now, because now what they were fighting for was for Irish independence, and now we were getting it. Now, Collins was late arriving for this ceremony because the streets were just lined with people high-fiving him and so forth. The last of the Lord Lieutenants or Viceroys was a man by the name of Lord Fitzallen, and he was furious that Collins was late for the ceremony. And when Collins arrived, this man said, "How dare you," to Collins, "how dare you be late for this ceremony, Collins?" He's a real stuck-up British Lord Lieutenant, and he said, "How dare you be late for the ceremony, Collins?" And he looks at his watch and he says, "In fact, you're 7 minutes late." And with that, Collins says back to him, he says, "You can have your 7 minutes. We've been waiting 700 years. Hope you like that story. Another, in 2015, the same-sex marriage referendum was announced here at the door right here of the state apartments, and it passed by 62%, where it was the first country through a referendum to legalise. And I don't think it was the first country in the world to legalise same-sex marriage, but it was the first time that it was done through a referendum, and it passed by 62% of the vote. Now, quite extraordinary, because 62%, yeah, which is quite extraordinary, because it was on the 22nd of May 2015. This place would have been absolutely mobbed full of people because of this event happening, and the place was all huge party, if you like. Now, if it had been 30 years previous to this, though, no way would this have passed, because we're a very Catholic country, very traditionally Catholic country. But people don't have the love of the Catholic Church so much anymore, and that's the reason why it passed. And I guess the Catholic Church kind of did it to themselves in the way they abused children in their care and also in their schools throughout the country. So that's the story about that. This is a lioness. You can see it right here. Loads of people taking a picture of it. It was given on, it's actually just on loan from the Italian ambassador to Ireland. And it's a lioness by David Rivaldi. He's a well-renowned sculptor. And supposedly in the ambassador's home here in Dublin, the Italian ambassador's home in Dublin, his residence, he has lots of these animals, all different kind of animals, all sculpted by David Rivaldi, the great Italian sculptor. It's here just on loan. It's known as, just called the Lioness. So there you go. Hope you're enjoying the story so far. And we're going to make our way. I can't go into the state apartments. They won't let me film in there. So I did sneak in there one time before, and I started filming. And luckily, I got away with it. And the reason why I got away with it was because I did it during the Christmas markets that were here, and that was open to the public for free. It actually is like 11 euros to go in normally, but it was open to the public for free during that time. And it was about 30 alpine markets here, and carol singers and what have you. So during that event, I just went in when everybody else was going in with my camera and showed people around. So it was really, really cool. So let's tell you a few old stories. So Joan mentioned Michael Collins, and actually that's not the only movie that's been made here. There's been lots of scenes to movies that have been made here in Dublin Castle, including, I'd say, Michael Collins. Even scenes from Braveheart, believe it or not, were filmed here. And if you didn't already know, Braveheart was entirely filmed in Ireland, not in Scotland, at Trim Castle in County Meath, about 40 minutes drive from where I am right now. And that's where most of the scenes, the castle scenes, were filmed. But there were scenes right from here. Albert Nobbs starring Glenn Close, filmed here. A great British series called The Tudors about Henry VIII and his family were also filmed here as well in Dublin Castle. And that's just to mention a few. There's been scenes, P.S. I Love You with Hilary Swank and Gerard Butler. Parts of scenes were filmed here as well. Bram Stoker, one of the great writers. Obviously you know him from Dracula. Well, the tax offices here, they still have tax offices right here. And at one time, between 1866 to 1878, Bram Stoker worked at the tax office right here at Dublin Castle. Now, if you've ever been on this tour before, you will have heard this story. But if you haven't, maybe you've forgotten it or whatever. I went to Trim Castle. Did you, Wendy? Lovely. Beautiful. Did you do the whole Boyne Valley as well? Yeah, because I say Wendy was here. When was it? October, wasn't it, Wendy? October, September, October? Philly. Yeah, Eddie goes from Philly. That's right. Philly. The Flyers, aren't they? That's the hockey team. And the Eagles, of course, the football team, the NFL. So, I'm going to tell you a story, folks. So, the last remaining, the oldest part of this establishment right here, or this campus, if you like, is the Round Tower right here. And it dates back to 1210. As I said before, it was established here at Dublin Castle by King John of England in 1204. The oldest building still remaining is the Round Tower, dating back to 1210. Now, it wasn't just a round tower, a record tower they called it as well, a wardrobe tower, but it was also at one time a prison tower. So the story I'm going to tell you is about two Irish men that were imprisoned here, two Irish rebels. Eagles were flying this year, I like that one. Yes, they didn't make it to the NFL, was it? I think the Ravens are going to win it. They're looking really good. I used to live near Baltimore in Annapolis. Used to go to a lot of Ravens games. I just think they're going to take it this year. They're looking really, really strong. Have to get past Kansas City Chiefs though. Now, the 49ers are still in it, right? But, so the story is about this when it was a prison tower. The year was 1592. There was two Irish rebels and they were imprisoned here for their activities against the British Crown. One was a man by the name of Red Hugh O'Donnell. He was the son of a Gaelic lord from County Donegal. And the other was Art O'Neill. He was the son of a Gaelic lord from County Tyrone. Now, this was in the depths of winter, January 1592, extremely freezing conditions. Despite that, somehow these two men managed to climb from the top of the tower right down into the basement and out through a drain and into the River Poddle, which runs underneath this part of the city today, and swam their way to safety. Now, unfortunately, because of the freezing conditions, one of the men, Art O'Neill, he succumbed to the freezing conditions and he died of exposure. But the other man, Red Hugh O'Donnell, happened to lose it was either one or two toes from frostbite. And he went on to be a huge thorn in the side of the British Empire because he staged the 9-year war. So he fought against the British for 9 straight years all throughout the country, the western part of the country, from all the way from the north to the south. The Battle of Kinsale was one of these great battles. But what he did was he also incorporated the Spanish Armada to help him. There's something like 30,000 or more Spanish troops came to help him in his battles against the British. Now, this guy was like Braveheart himself, like William Wallace himself. He was, because he would be on the front lines. He wasn't one of these guys that would be standing in the background telling the soldiers to go and fight. He was a warrior, and he'd be on the front lines, and he was a brilliant swordsman and a great, great soldier. And amazingly, in the 9 years that he fought the British, he wasn't even as much as injured. He was that good of a soldier. Now, he was a great friend of the Spanish, as I said, and in 1607, he's in Spain, and he's sitting on a seat and he's drinking his glass of wine. Now, he leaves his table to go relieve himself, whatever he used to do it back then, and when he comes back, he finishes his glass of wine. But in the meantime, when he left his seat, a British spy had poisoned his wine, and that was the end of poor old Red Hugh O'Donnell, and that's how he died. But a great warrior. I hope you like that story. This is the Chapel Royal, built between 1807 and 1814 by a man by the name of Johnson. I forget his first name. What was his first name? This guy was a prolific architect in the 1900s in Ireland. Now, this does look a lot older than it actually is. I think it was built to look that way in the Gothic style. It was the official Church of Ireland chapel of the Lord Lieutenant of Ireland. Francis Johnson was his name. And he, as I say, the most prominent architect working in Ireland in the 19th century. He also designed the famous GPO as well. And now inside this church you have the names of all the Lord Lieutenants that were Lord Lieutenants from the period of the British seat of government here in Ireland. All the names of the family crests, if you like, or the family coat of arms are all along the walls of the church in here. They're also famous for their carved heads as well. You might see some of them right there. I don't know if this camera is going to capture the carved heads. You might see them on the sides of the stained glass windows there. Actually, you'll be able to see the stained glass inside the church, not outside. But the two most famous carved heads in this chapel are these ones right here. And on the left, you have Brian Boru. Brian Boru was the High King of Ireland. Before that, he was the High King of Munster. And he was the first, him and his Irish armies were the first to ever defeat the Vikings at the Battle of Clontarf in 1014. And that was some feat because the Vikings were a supreme army, if you like. They were great battlers, great warriors, but this man and his Irish armies defeated them in the Battle of Clontarf. Now, the Clontarf was about only 2 kilometres from here, on the coast in North Dublin. And it was just an 8-hour war, so it only took place in one day. And Brian Boru, after his defeat of the Vikings, after beating the Vikings, he's there in his tent and he's praying to his God for his victory. And a lone Viking came upon his tent and hacked him to death with a hacksaw. And that was the end of poor old Brian Boru. Now, the harp is the Irish national symbol of Ireland. It's the national emblem of Ireland. And it comes from Brian Boru's harp, because Brian Boru was a harpist. He was the first known harpist in Ireland. And it's because of his harp that Ireland gets its Ireland's national emblem or symbol is the harp. That the very harp that he played, supposedly it's the original, I don't know, is in the Book of Kells building or the old library at Trinity College. You can see it's on display there. Nasty those Vikings, yes indeed. Lesson is never leave your drink unattended. Yes, you're right. Shelley, you're right. And the other man, obviously, of course, is the patron saint of Ireland. This is St. Patrick, who brought Christianity to Ireland. And he converted the Irish pagans who were pagans to Christianity. We celebrate him, of course, on the 17th of March each year. Great celebrations here in Dublin. It's a week long. We don't like to just do it the one day. We like to do it the whole week. But people come from all over the world. About 500,000 people attend the parade, which is a great parade here in Dublin. The place is just jamming. Every single pub, there's standing room only if you're lucky to even get inside a pub during that time. But now St. Patrick's Cathedral is just up the street from here as well. Obviously dedicated to St. Patrick. Now, where I'm going to bring you next is the Dubh Linn Gardens, and this is where Dublin gets its name. And originally, when I show you this, you'll see it was originally a harbour, if you like, a harbour port. Here's another old castle. So let me bring you in here. So here is the Dubh Linn Gardens, and originally, between the year around 850 to 900 or so, this would have been, I'd say around 850 and onwards, this would have been a harbour port for the Vikings. So they would have moored their boats here, if you like. And the body of water, it's where two rivers met. The River Liffey, which runs through the centre of Dublin City today, and also the River Poddle, which I just talked about a little earlier, that runs underneath this part of the city today. And that's where these two rivers met. And then the water, the body of water here was extremely... You're losing me. What happened, Wendy? The sky. So, refresh there, Wendy, if you can. So the body of water here was extremely black. It was dark, really black. And the Irish word for black is Dubh, D-U-B-H. And it wasn't a big harbour, as you can see. It was more of a pool. So the Irish word for pool is linn. So Dubh Linn. And this is where Dublin gets its name, Dubh Linn. So the Irish Dublin. If you translate Dublin into English, it's Blackpool. So Ireland is Dublin is actually Blackpool, Dublin or Dublin. So there you go. There's a series of other memorial gardens here as well. In here, I'm not going to go in because it's the Garda Memorial. The Garda in Ireland is the police force. Garda Síochána, keepers of the peace. And this is, oh actually I will go in, why not? This is a remembrance or a memorial to all those that lost their lives in the line of duty. And they have their badge number and the names of all those policemen or guards that lost their lives from 1922 till this present day. Now, 88, it's not too bad. I'm sure there's some cities in America that have maybe that amount in 5 years even. Love this. Thanks, Jennifer. Great stuff. Thank you. So, Garda Memorial, the police memorial. So the names of all the Gardas that lost their lives in the line of duty. There you go. There's another garden just up here as well, and it's dedicated to this lady. Her name is Veronica Guerin. I don't know if you've ever heard the name. Lots of people coming in here to Dublin Castle right now. Lots of student groups come all the time. We get lots of Italian student groups. Sorry, excuse me. Sorry, boss. I got in the way of a picture there. So let me just show you this statue here. That's a memorial to one of Ireland's greatest, probably Ireland's greatest investigative reporter. And she was more of like a freelance reporter. I think she wrote for all the newspapers, articles for them. I know she worked for the Sunday World and the Irish Independent at one time. And she was extremely brave investigative reporter. And she was exposing Ireland's biggest ever drug gang. This was in the 1990s. Ireland's biggest ever drug gang, and she was exposing them by going around, trying to interview them, knocking at their door, showing people where they lived, all this kind of stuff, trying to get information out of them. And she was a huge thorn in the side of this drug gang, and she, as I say, naming them, exposing them and everything. And they finally, this is for years this was going on, and finally in 1996, on the Nace Dual Carriageway, coming into Dublin from Nace in County Kildare, where she was at a court case earlier that day. She was driving, she was stopped at the traffic lights. There was traffic lights on that dual carriageway, believe it or not, at one time. And they shot her dead at the traffic lights, shot her in the head. Now, they made 2 movies about her. One was When a Sky Falls, starring Joan Allen, an American actress, and the other was Veronica Guerin, starring Kate Blanchett. But she's a real hero, and much braver than any male investigative reporter. They didn't have the guts to do what she did. She really did. Was very, very gutsy. And she knew that they'll probably kill her in the end, but she still wasn't going to give up. Now, most of the leaders of this drug gang, some of them are still in prison to this day. This was 1996. Some of them are still in prison to this day. And others get out after 20 years or whatever. But it broke up this drug gang. They were no longer. Now, it's not to say there is no drugs anymore. There is. Other gangs would have spun off from that. Some of the factions that were part of that group would have started their own drug gangs and what have you. I guess it's everywhere. This is the old coach house in the background that you see here, where the Lord Lieutenants or the Viceroys would have had their horses, stabled their horses, and any of the visitors would have stabled them here as well. Now, if you look at these squiggly lines here, there's a legend has it that there was a lot of eels in this body of water at one time, but that could be just a legend, because in actual fact what it is a helicopter pad. In 2005 we were the president of the EU, or whatever, the European Union, were the president of it. Each country of part of the EU will have 1 year where they're president of the EU. So I think it was 2005 we were the president of the EU. So you would have all these dignitaries flying into Dublin Airport, getting a helicopter and landing right here and going inside here for state dinners and meetings and what have you. There's another really fine garden up here as well, memorial garden, and it's dedicated to the Special Olympics. You might see the Olympic torch right there. The Special Olympics in 2003, when the first time ever that it was staged outside the United States, was staged right here in Dublin at Croke Park Stadium, and 83,000 seat stadium, Ireland's by far Ireland's biggest stadium. It's the GAA Stadium, the Gaelic football grounds, the GAA Crow Park. And Eunice Kennedy, the brother of John F. Kennedy, she was the one that established the Special Olympics. So there is all of these plaques and all the names of all 30,000 volunteers plus all the athletes are named on these plaques surrounding this Memorial Garden, Special Olympics. Let me see, is there any comments here? Gotta go to the live chat. Love this, says Jennifer. That's great, Jennifer, thank you. Now, this is the Chester Beatty Library. This is we have Chester Beatty Library Museum of this. There's just absolutely, I think there's 51 museums in Dublin alone. Many of them are free, including this one right here. But just let me tell you a little bit about this beautiful, beautiful library museum. Actually, it was in 2002, it was named European Museum of the Year. Now, I'll tell you a little history about it. Chester Beatty was a mining magnate, originally from New York City. He was born right where Rockefeller Center is now. And he studied mining at New York University. When he finished his studies, he headed out to the mines in Colorado. And for about 20 years he worked his way up, right up to supervisor or near the top of the running the mine. And at that time he hit the jackpot, if you like, because he came across a huge haul of gold and copper and became an extremely wealthy man. He then decides to move to London, and from his base in London he opened up mines all throughout the world, especially in the Far East, Asia and what have you, the Middle East and these kind of places. But on his travels he became the world's biggest collector. What did he collect? Everything and anything and everything. Secret traditions, sacred traditions, miniature books, rare paintings, miniature paintings, Qurans, Bibles, manuscripts, you name it. And they're all, well, not all of them, but as much as they fit in here is housed in here at the Chester Beatty Library. It's a sensational, amazing museum library. It's fantastic. And now, Chester Beatty in 1957, the reason why he came here, I should tell you, the reason why he came here to Dublin from London was he originally housed these collections in a museum in London until they ran out of room for him. And his son happened to be living here in Dublin and wherever, and the Irish government offered him a place, not this one, but another place to house his collections. And eventually ended up here. And in 1957, he was made an honorary citizen. In 1968, he died and was given a state funeral. And so he's the first ever, 1957, he's the first ever Irish honorary citizen. And made the first ever Irish honorary citizen. And then in 1968, he died and he was given a state funeral, and he's buried out in Glasnevin Cemetery in Dublin, Ireland's largest cemetery, with 1.7 million people buried there. Now, on his death or in his will, he willed all of his collections to the Irish government, to the Irish state, to the people of Ireland. And they're all housed in here, and that's why it's free, because that's the way he wanted it. So it's magnificent, it really is fabulous. Let me see, do we have any other comments? Unfortunately, I won't be able to go in there. They don't let you film in these places. Museums. So, that's about all I have for you for today's tour. It's a short one. My tours usually last an hour or so, but this is just a shorty. Well, we're coming up to 40 minutes, it's not that short. So if you enjoyed this, I have in the description, you'll see I have my PayPal link, and I also have my Buy Me a Coffee link. I love my coffee. I drink a lot of coffee. So if you're interested, or if you enjoy the tour and you feel like leaving a donation, I'd very much appreciate that. That'd be great. If not, thanks for coming on. No problem. Catch me next time. Also, if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, I'd very much appreciate it if you could. Thanks, Shelley. Appreciate it. So if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do so. I'm at 902. I'm trying to get to that 1,000 subscribers. And if I can get to that, it'd be great. Can then monetize your channel. Also, if you have any friends or family members that are looking to come to Dublin, looking to come to Ireland or wherever, I have about 180 tours on my YouTube channel. Not all of them are full tours, but a lot of them are. Some of them are only 30 minutes long. Some of them are 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and others are an hour. But a lot of them are of the tourist areas in Dublin. So if you'd like to share my channel with some of your friends and family, that way they can subscribe to me and also learn a little bit about Dublin. Whether they're coming here or not, they might enjoy that. Folks, thanks very much for coming on. And thanks, Dave. I'll see you tomorrow for the Oxford tour. No, that's not me. Thanks, Dave. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm not on the Oxford tour. That must be Ian doing the Oxford tour. I'm actually doing a tour this coming Monday. I'm doing a tour. I'm actually doing a walking tour tomorrow. But Monday, I'm doing the Royal Kilmainham Hospital. It's a really nice tour. You'll enjoy that one. And then on Wednesday, I'm doing a tour of a Dublin coastal suburb of Sandymount. Really, really nice tour. Hope you can join me for that. I'm gonna actually put up some more tours for next week and maybe the week after as well. So I'll be doing plenty of tours on this channel. And thanks very much all for coming on. And also another thing, if you did enjoy the tour today, if you could leave a comment on my YouTube, just below this tour, just leave a comment about the tour or whatever. That helps the algorithm and will help me, get to that 1,000 subscribers. So that's all I got for you, folks. Thanks very much. Have a great day. See you all. Have a nice weekend, and we'll see you soon. Ian, yeah, there you go, John. Okay, thank you so much. See you later, folks. Have a good one. Thanks for coming on. Have a great day.